Hello and welcome to Sad Tales. Today, we bring you a devastating story that shook Daytona Beach, Florida in November 2023. Denja Moore, a 30-year-old mother of three, was found brutally murdered in her apartment, a victim of a horrific crime that also claimed the life of her 10-month-old son and left her two older children critically injured. The suspect, Charles Leon Ivy, who is the father of the two older children, now faces multiple charges, including first-degree murder and arson. Join us as we unravel the details of this tragic case, its impact on the community, and the ongoing quest for justice. Denja Moore was raised in a small, close-knit family in Orlando, Florida. She was surrounded by love and care from her immediate and extended family. They taught her the value of nurturing relationships to achieve her goals. After completing her studies at Haines City High School in 2012, Dania pursued a career in criminal justice at Bethune-Cookman University. To support herself through school, she worked full-time at a Dollar Tree store and part-time as a football manager at the university. By 2016, she was well established in her studies, juggling two jobs, and actively sought a partner. Little did she know she would soon meet someone who would dramatically alter the course of her life. In 2016, 23-year-old Denja met 27-year-old Charles Leon Ivy, and they both quickly hit it off. They enjoyed each other's company, doing activities they both loved. Dania was convinced she had found her ideal partner. Within a year, Denja was expecting her first child, Charles's fifth child, and she couldn't have been happier. She gave birth to her son Dakota in April 2018 and was delighted with Charles's active involvement as a father. By mid-2018, Denja was pregnant again. She delivered a beautiful daughter Dove in February 2019. After having a baby daughter, she decided to turn her passion for hair care into a more serious side business. Charles was very supportive of her and their children, and Dania felt they were living the perfect life. However, as Denja became busier with her job, hair business, and caring for their children, she found herself with less time for Charles. He began seeing other women, becoming less involved with the kids. Denja grew suspicious and eventually discovered that Charles had been unfaithful. Although they discussed it, he denied it, and their relationship continued, with him making efforts to be more present for the kids. Unfortunately, this became a recurring pattern. Charles would cheat, deny it, and then try to make amends, only to return to his old ways. Denja became heartbroken by his repeated betrayals, which took away from the quality time she wanted to spend with her children and him. Despite her love for him, she hoped he would eventually change and return to being the man she had fallen in love with. Things took a turn for the worse when the woman Charles was cheating with became pregnant and had a baby. Dania decided she had endured enough and ended the relationship. Charles, feeling rejected, withdrew completely from his children's lives. He stopped taking their calls, refused to see them, and wouldn't provide financial support. This was devastating for Dania, who loved her children deeply and would do anything for them. But she couldn't replace the love, attention, and support they needed from their father. To ensure her children were taken care of financially, she signed up for child support. Dania faced criticism from those around her for leaving her children's father, who was now refusing to be part of their lives. She had to set the record straight, stating that she left the relationship to better herself and her children. She expressed that she would never allow anyone to place her in a situation where she felt like she was in second place or where she lacked a voice. She acknowledged that she loved deeply, which was her downfall, but she was growing into the woman God intended her to be and a great mother. She loved herself, and that was what mattered most. Meanwhile, Charles was unhappy about being forced to provide financial support for his children and sought to end his obligations by filing for custody in March 2020. He hoped to gain full custody to avoid paying child support, but he was granted joint custody instead. Unhappy with this outcome, he continued to ignore his children and Denja. Despite her efforts to maintain contact by reminding him of their children's special events and milestones, he showed little interest. After several months, he agreed to have Denja drop the kids off on weekends, but he was not sincere in wanting to spend time with them. In an attempt to hurt Denja, he began to abuse the children when they were in his care, leading to his arrest on September 28, 2021, for child abuse that occurred on September 23, 2020. On September 14, 2020, Denja notified the court that she had not received the child support payments Charles was ordered to pay, and he was in arrears to the tune of $133,000. Following the child abuse incident, Denja was awarded full custody of their children, while Charles remained responsible for child support. Furious, Charles began threatening and harassing Denja, a threat she never took seriously. She couldn't believe Charles could harm her in any way. For 2 years, Charles would occasionally reach out to Denja, asking her to absolve him of his child support obligations. She would refuse, and he would threaten her, but she dismissed the threats as empty threats. Things escalated when Charles learned that Denia had moved on with a new partner and had a child with him. He became mad and obsessed, saying her new man should also be responsible for his children. Denia had built a solid customer base in Daytona Beach, and she realized that moving back to Orlando had not been the best decision for her business, as her clients were reluctant to travel to Orlando for her services. In June 2023, she moved back to Daytona Beach, closer to Charles's Ormond Beach home, but did not inform him of the move since he was no longer involved in her and the children's lives. Moreover, she is seeing someone else. She was settled in her new home, unaware that her life was about to fall apart. On November 21st, 2023, what should have been a regular night at home for Denja and her children turned into a nightmare that no one could have anticipated. Charles drove to Denja's new home at around 11 p.m. How he got her new address was unclear. Maybe he had seen her around, or he got it from someone close to Denja. He knocked on her door. Denja opened it and was surprised to see Charles standing there. His unexpected presence terrified her, as he had been threatening her for 2 years without ever showing up. She had been expecting a friend and thought the knock was from them. She was alone at home with her 3 sleeping children. Denja was scared. Before she could close the door, Charles forced his way inside. What happened next is something out of a horror film. She immediately sensed danger. Denja rushed to get her phone to call 911, but Charles was right behind her. He grabbed her phone from her and put it in his pocket. Realizing she was in grave danger, Denia yelled at him to leave, hoping the neighbors would hear and call the police. Before she could say more words, she was on the floor with Charles on top of her. She kicked him as hard as she could as she fell on her back, but he managed to overpower her but lost his balance, falling against the side of her center table. She tried to escape to her bedroom, but Charles quickly recovered and, now furious, grabbed her and slammed her to the floor very hard. He then pulled out a knife and began stabbing her. Denja fought with all her strength, but as he continued to stab her heartlessly, she began to lose consciousness. He didn't stop until she was lifeless. He butchered her beyond recognition. Charles then poured gasoline over her and around the house, igniting a fire. He went into the kitchen, turned on all the stove burners, and placed boxes and paper on them. Casually, he walked out of the apartment and sat in his car for about 30 minutes, watching as the flames consumed the house. Once he's satisfied that no one can survive his actions, he drives away, hearing fire trucks racing to the scene as he leaves. He believed his mission was completed, that Denja and his children were gone, and she could no longer chase him for child support. But he was wrong. The fire department received the call at approximately 11:40 p.m. When they arrived at the scene, they found the apartment fully engulfed in flames. The fire was so intense that black smoke poured out of every window and door. They made a horrifying discovery when they entered the apartment and found the children, burned but still breathing. They quickly rushed them to the hospital. They also discovered Denia's lifeless, butchered and burned body. The 10-month-old baby, Messiah, was pronounced dead at Halifax Health Medical Center due to cardiac arrest. The 4-year-old Dove and 5-year-old Dakota were in critical condition and were taken to Shands Hospital's intensive care unit. The family was heartbroken but grateful for the first responders who risked their lives to save Denja's children. Dove and Dakota have since recovered physically thanks to the bravery of the firefighters and the dedication of the doctors and nurses who provided them with the best possible care. They are now under the care of their loving and supportive family, who are ensuring they receive the counseling and therapy needed to heal from the traumatic experience. An autopsy revealed that Denja had been stabbed over 100 times, puncturing all her vital organs, which led to her death. Her 10-month-old son died from smoke inhalation and second-degree burns, as he was in a crib near where his mother's lifeless body was. Dove and Dakota suffered smoke inhalation and first-degree burns, as they were in a room further away from where the fire started. What a heartless man Charles is. The Daytona Beach Police Department quickly launched an investigation. It didn't take long for them to identify Charles Leon Ivy as the prime suspect. Charles was arrested the next day and charged with multiple counts of first-degree murder, attempted felony murder, and arson.
I've never witnessed anything this horrific in my entire career.
Police say inside the apartment they found the stove's burners all turned on with papers and boxes on top to start a fire, so they knew it was intentionally set. Detectives then went to track down the murderer.
We were able to track his vehicle via traffic cameras leaving the area after this incident would have occurred.
The evidence against him was overwhelming, and his eventual confession to the police only solidified the case. This callous behavior only added to the horror of his crimes. Clearly, he does not care about Denja and her children because he has other kids with other women. He admitted to being at the apartment around the time of the fire and staying in the parking lot for another 30 minutes, watching as the flames consumed his own children. The community of Daytona Beach was left reeling from the tragedy. A vigil was held in Denja's memory, where friends, family, and neighbors gathered to mourn the loss of a young mother and her baby. The senselessness of the crime left many asking, how could something like this happen? Denja's family spoke out, expressing their grief and disbelief. They described her as a devoted mother who would do anything for her children. The pain of losing her in such a brutal manner was almost too much to bear. As the legal proceedings began, the public's attention turned to the justice system. Ivy faced a mountain of charges, and the evidence against him was damning. The prosecution painted a picture of a man who had meticulously planned a horrific crime, intending to cause maximum pain and suffering. The trial, which is set to begin soon, will undoubtedly be closely followed by the media and the public. For Denja's family, the hope is that justice will be served and that Ivy will be held accountable for the unimaginable pain he has caused. As we reflect on this tragic story, it's important to remember that Denja Moore was more than just a victim. She was a mother, a friend, and a cherished member of her community. Her life was taken too soon, but her memory lives on in the hearts of those who knew her. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more sad tales stories. If you or someone you know is in a dangerous situation, don't hesitate to seek help. Rest in peace, Denja. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Stay safe, and we'll see you in the next video.